We've all been there. You buy the most amazing TV from a retailer, and by the time it gets home, something is somehow broken. Well, Samsung wants to make sure that never happens with your new Samsung Plasma HD TV. Follow these guidelines to make sure your Samsung TV remains undamaged on the way to its new home. We all know some of the obvious ways to avoid damaging a new TV. Don't drop or throw the new TV. No hitting the side by accident or on purpose. Your new TV is not a bench or an armrest. And also, keep in mind that cardboard is by no means waterproof, so protect your TV during bad weather. It is not to be used as an umbrella. Now, some ways to ensure the safety and integrity of your new Samsung Plasma aren't as obvious as those I've just mentioned. Most new televisions that become damaged are damaged during transport. Here's how to successfully avoid this with your new Samsung Plasma HD TV. The first interaction you have with your Samsung Plasma HD TV is most likely in the store, where a helpful sales associate will transport your new purchase safely to your car. Have that sales associate or an assistant help you secure your TV safely in your car. First things first, take time to consider what type of vehicle you have brought and which size televisions may fit inside comfortably. You'll find that different sized vehicles can carry various sized plasma televisions. If you have a smaller car without a sizable trunk, an appropriately sized TV box can be placed in the back seat. Just make sure that the television is positioned so that the up arrow is clearly showing which side should be facing up and that the screen itself is facing out. Movement is a big factor in damaging TVs, so make sure that the box is secured with things like seat belts or bungee cords. Even the passenger seat can be used to lie back and secure your TV as long as it doesn't apply too much pressure to the box. You don't want one too many potholes to bounce your new TV around to the point of breaking. Larger vehicles, like an SUV or minivan, have different options for loading and securing your television box. You can place it, arrows pointing up, in the back seat as with smaller vehicles. Just make sure to secure it with things like seat belts or bungee cords. Or make use of your passenger seat to keep it from moving. This type of vehicle also gives you the option to secure the TV box in the trunk area. Just make sure the box is upright with the screen facing out. And always secure it safely with items like straps, bungee cords, or your car's trunk net accessory. Larger TVs can be transported at a diagonal in the back of a large vehicle as long as they can be secured, standing upright to avoid falling over or bouncing around. Laying the TV box flat on the floor of a trunk or flatbed is never the preferred option of transport. This way exposes the TV to too much movement and bouncing on the road, and is too hard to secure. You risk exposing the TV to sliding and damage. If you find that this is the absolute only way you can transport your TV, take precautions like laying down a protective cloth. Make sure that the screen is always facing up, never put any items on top of it, and keep it from moving as much as possible by securing it. But please note that this is not the recommended way to avoid damaging your plasma. I think it goes without saying that no matter the vehicle, you just can't make a TV box magically fit inside if it doesn't work. You've spent good money on this amazing new plasma. Don't shove or force the box if you meet resistance. And never use the old hanging out the back of an open trunk standby. That's just asking for trouble. Another common mistake consumers make is to try and take the TV out of the box to make it fit. Under absolutely no circumstances should you remove the television from the box to try to save space or to fit the device into a smaller vehicle. Only Samsung packaging can protect your Samsung TV from damage. If worse comes to worse and it just doesn't fit, arrange for delivery from the retailer. Most are happy to help. Now, once you've loaded your new plasma safe and sound, make sure to drive very carefully home. Broken pavement and bumpy roads should be avoided whenever possible, but if you must drive over them, drive slowly. When you get home, the same rules apply for unloading as for loading. Use 2 people to gently move the TV using the included handle holes and always keeping the TV upright as indicated by the up arrows. Be careful moving around corners, going up or down stairs, and moving over uneven terrain. All of these factors can cause you to drop and damage the TV unintentionally. If you are using a dolly or handcart, keep the TV upright as well with the screen facing out, and make sure it is securely strapped down with a safety belt, bungee cords, or something similar. Always have someone help you with stairs or uneven ground. Do not attempt to move a large and heavy TV box on your own without the help of an assistant or cart. This kind of attempt only ends in tears and can ruin your new television. And your back. So you made it! Your new Samsung Plasma HD TV has gotten home safely. The last step is to unbox it properly so you can begin your setup. Place the box upright on the floor as indicated by the up arrows on the side. Towards the base of the box, you'll see locking mechanism inserts that keep the top of the box connected securely to the bottom of the packaging. Insert your fingers and squeeze to release the lock and remove the inserts. Make sure to remove all 4 inserts. Now use 2 people to lift the top of the television box straight up and off the upright TV screen. And you'll want to remove any packing materials attached to the TV. Depending on your plasma size, you may need to attach the stand of the TV before placing it on an entertainment center. If this is the case, please feel free to watch our plasma stand assembly how-to videos on samsung.com/SPSN to walk you through the process. When lifting the television, use two people and make sure to support both the top and the bottom of the device. Never grab just the top or just the bottom of the screen, as this can lead to unintentional dropping. Now gently place the TV on your entertainment center for setup. Your plasma screen may need to be handled gently when bringing it home, but once you can enjoy your new Samsung TV, you'll know your care was well worth the end result.